This week, in Parshat Shalach Lecha, the Israelites are poised to enter the Promised Land. God tells Moses to send 12 scouts, leaders from every tribe, to survey the land and its inhabitants and prepare to enter. But when they return, 10 of the 12 bring back not only large grapes, but big fear. The land is inhabited by giants, they cry. We look like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so we must have looked to them. And just like that, the people despair. But Caleb steps forward, perhaps the most underappreciated hero of the Torah, and he says simply, Alo na'aleh, we can surely go up. We can do this. He sees the same landscape as everyone else, the same giants, but he chooses to respond with faith and courage. This is not a story about what the scouts saw. Everyone agrees on that. It's about how we see ourselves in relationship to what we see. 10 scouts give in to their fear. Only 2, Joshua and Caleb, have hope that the world that they want to inhabit is worth fighting for and that they can succeed. It's hard to hear this ancient story and not think of Israel in this present moment. They know the giant before them. The whole world can see it. There's no dispute on that. It has terrorized and threatened destruction for decades. But they took an enormous risk to fight for a safer Israel and a safer world, trusting somehow they will succeed, hoping that this war is ultimately for more peace. Now, our own situation here feels like a different kind of battle. In many past months, we have seen unbelievable rising anti-Semitic hate and violence. We've seen shocking political violence, devastating divisions within our people and across the ideological spectrum. These days, it's hard not to feel like one of the 10 scouts, to say, we are too small, and they are too many, and the giants are too many, and the world is too hostile, too broken. And just like that, we despair. I recently heard the musician and writer Nick Cave speak, who tragically lost 2 sons and had real reason to be despondent. He talked about hope, like a modern-day Caleb, saying, it took a devastation to find hope. Unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard-earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible place on earth. Hopefulness is not a neutral position. It is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that it is so. Now, what makes Caleb different? The Torah hints at an answer. Later in the book of Numbers, God says of Caleb, "V'ruach acheret imo." He had a different spirit. That phrase always moved me. Caleb had a different spirit. Maybe we could call it the warrior hope spirit. He's telling us what the 10 scouts could not grasp, that hope is not naive, it's brave. That to believe in a better future, in a world worth crossing a wilderness for, is not a denial of reality. It is an act of defiance. And hope is not a feeling. It is a spiritual discipline. It's work, something we must practice, like prayer, like love, like justice. And the way we practice hope is not by waiting for some grand rescue or leader. Often it's by doing the smallest, most human acts of care and presence. Reading a book to a child, showing up for someone, a random act of kindness. Sometimes it's found in acts of civic agency, protesting an injustice, or just exercising your right to vote, which I beg you all to do this week. During the week of the Boulder attack, Bishop Matt Hyde's email of care and his subsequent words of support from this pulpit kept the devil in the hole for me. And on July 1, his diocese is kicking off an interfaith campaign called #OneSingleAct. This campaign invites every person to exercise their warrior hope with a single act of care, courage, or connection, big or small, and to share it online and invite one other person to do the same. I'm going to be part of this campaign. Will you join me? I want to tell you something that happened to me today. It wasn't originally in the sermon, but I had to tell you this story. A woman was waiting at Central's security desk when I happened to walk outside. They weren't going to let her in, I think. Anyway, she says to me, "You probably don't remember me," she said with a thick Israeli accent. I mean, she looked familiar in that, like, Israeli Bobby kind of way. But I said, I think so. She said, "Well, years ago, you stayed in my house in Auburn, Alabama, when your clergy was making visits to small congregations down in the South that don't have rabbis, and you stayed in my home." I said, "Oh, yes, of course, I remember that." She said, "Well, your earring fell under my guest bed. And when I moved to Atlanta, I found it. And now I have a grandchild in New York, so I'm here, 14 years late on the return, but I brought it back to you." She pulls it out, and it was indeed my earring, one that my husband Jacob had gifted to me, and I had never had the guts to tell him I lost it. Here it is, honey. It's very nice. Okay, talk about keeping the devil in the hole. That mitzvah, it just renewed my faith in humanity. One single act. This is exactly what Judaism has always insisted. Every mitzvah, no matter how small, is a vote for the world that we want to live in. Each kindness we do, each blessing we say, each dollar we give, each injustice we resist, it's a refusal to give in to despair. Judaism never guaranteed the world would be good, only that we are called to make it better. We are not permitted to be indifferent. We're not permitted to be cynical, even when the task feels overwhelming, maybe especially when I return to the quiet insistence of hope. Not a luxury, but a necessity. And I see it every day in the young adult who still comes to Torah study seeking purpose amid his disillusionment, in the way our community reaches out to welcome new members, in our 10th graders who stood on this bema just weeks ago to confirm their Jewish pride, even in a world that has made them afraid. That is warrior hope. This Shabbat, we stand with Caleb. We choose that different spirit. We look at the world not as it is, but as it can be, because we must fight fiercely and tenderly for the future we want to live in, because we cannot afford to see ourselves as grasshoppers. We must see ourselves as God does, which is as God's partners in redemption.